Every one of us has a place in this world where our contribution matters. Whether in a company, a community, or even within our own families, we play roles that impact others. But have you ever asked yourself what makes a person truly irreplaceable? It's not about having the most degrees, the loudest voice in the room, or the flashiest achievements. Being impossible to replace comes from habits, the repeated actions that shape your value over time. Today, I want to walk you through 7 habits that will transform how people see you and ensure your presence is felt no matter where you are. The first habit is the discipline of reliability. When people know they can depend on you, your word carries weight. Many people overpromise and underdeliver, but if you're the one who consistently does what you say you will do, you set yourself apart. Reliability is not glamorous, but it is powerful. The person who shows up, delivers on time, and honors commitments becomes the anchor everyone relies on. The second habit is constant learning. The world changes at a pace faster than ever before. Skills expire, industries evolve, and opportunities shift. If you commit yourself to learning something new every day, you won't just keep up. You'll stay ahead. Knowledge isn't only about books or courses, but about curiosity. Ask better questions. Learn from those around you. Adapt to new tools. The one who is always growing will never run out of value to offer. The third habit is practicing empathy. Machines may be fast and efficient, but they cannot feel. Human connection is what separates us from algorithms and systems. When you take time to understand people, their struggles, their hopes, their fears, you build trust. And trust is something no technology can replace. People don't remember only what you achieved, they remember how you made them feel. The fourth habit is problem solving. Anyone can point out problems, but very few step forward with solutions. If you develop the habit of asking, how can we fix this? Instead of, why is this broken? You become the person others look to in times of challenge. In every organization, the person who solves problems becomes indispensable because they move things forward when others freeze. The fifth habit is adaptability. Change is uncomfortable, but it is constant. If you resist it, you'll be left behind. If you embrace it, you'll thrive. Adaptability means being flexible enough to learn new ways, to pivot when necessary, and to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity. When others panic, your calmness and ability to adjust will make you the steady presence people need. The sixth habit is initiative. Waiting for instructions is safe, but taking initiative is what builds influence. When you see something that needs to be done and you step up without being asked, you demonstrate leadership. Initiative shows courage. It signals that you don't just exist in a system, you improve it. People notice those who go the extra mile not because they were told, but because they chose to. And the seventh habit is integrity. Skills may earn you opportunities, but integrity keeps them. In a world full of shortcuts and compromises, the person who stands by their principles becomes rare. Integrity builds a reputation that outlasts projects, jobs, and even industries. When people know they can trust you, your presence becomes not just valued, but essential. So, what makes a person impossible to replace? It's not perfection, it's the daily practice of these 7 habits. Be reliable, keep learning, show empathy, solve problems, adapt to change, take initiative, protect your integrity. These aren't tricks or shortcuts, they are the foundation of lasting value. If you live them consistently, you won't need to fight for your place. Your place will be undeniable. 5 keynotes of the speech: reliability creates trust and makes your presence essential. Lifelong learning ensures your value never expires. Empathy builds connections no machine can replace. Problem solving and adaptability make you the go-to person in times of change. Initiative and integrity establish influence and protect your reputation. Reliability is often underestimated, yet it is one of the most powerful habits that can make a person impossible to replace. When you think about people you admire or depend on, chances are the common thread among them is that they are reliable. They show up when they say they will, they deliver on promises, and they don't leave others second guessing. Reliability is more than just punctuality or meeting deadlines. It's about building a reputation that speaks louder than your words. When people know they can trust you to follow through, you become someone they count on, and that makes your presence indispensable. The truth is, reliability doesn't happen overnight. It is cultivated over time through consistent actions. A single act of keeping your word may not make you stand out, but when you practice it repeatedly, people begin to notice. They start associating your name with trust, dependability, and stability. In workplaces, teams thrive when there is at least one person they know will always deliver. That person becomes the glue holding the system together, even if they aren't the loudest or most visible. Reliability doesn't demand recognition, but it earns respect naturally. When you fail to be reliable, the opposite happens. People lose confidence in you. They hesitate before entrusting you with responsibilities, and opportunities slowly slip away. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect, because nobody is. But it does mean that you communicate honestly, manage expectations, and ensure that your actions align with your commitments. Reliability is not about never making mistakes. It's about showing others that you can be counted on to make things right when mistakes happen. That kind of consistency strengthens relationships and builds long-term trust. Reliability also extends beyond work. Think about friendships and family ties. The people who remain closest to us are not necessarily the funniest or most entertaining. They are often the ones who have stood by us consistently. A reliable friend is one who answers the phone in the middle of the night when you need them, who remembers the important dates, and who keeps their word even when it's inconvenient. In relationships, reliability translates to emotional security. It gives others the confidence that you won't let them down. Over time, this makes your role in their lives irreplaceable because consistency is something everyone craves, but not everyone offers. In professional life, reliability is a currency that multiplies. Leaders value employees who don't just talk about what they'll do, but actually execute. A reliable worker becomes the person managers trust with high-stakes projects, the one colleagues turn to in times of stress, and the one clients remember long after a deal is signed. This kind of reputation cannot be bought, and it cannot be easily replaced. Competence is important, but competence without reliability is fragile. You might be talented, but if people can't count on you, that talent loses its shine. On the other hand, even if you are not the most skilled person in the room, your reliability makes you a steady presence that others depend on. Reliability also speaks volumes about your character. It shows discipline, respect for others' time, and a deep sense of responsibility. When you consistently keep promises, people don't just see you as dependable, they see you as someone who values them. Every time you honor a commitment, you are indirectly telling the other person, I respect you, your time, and your trust in me. That message builds influence far more effectively than titles or achievements alone. Another dimension of reliability is resilience. Life is unpredictable and circumstances don't always favor us. But a reliable person finds a way to navigate obstacles and still fulfill their role. They don't use challenges as excuses, they adapt and persist. This doesn't mean ignoring limitations, but it does mean being resourceful and proactive in finding solutions. When others see that you remain dependable even under pressure, your reputation becomes even stronger. People remember how you performed when things got tough more than when everything was easy. Building the habit of reliability requires discipline. It means paying attention to details, planning your time carefully, and resisting the temptation to overcommit. Many people lose reliability not because they lack good intentions, but because they promise more than they can handle. To be reliable, you must be realistic with yourself. Commit to what you can deliver, and deliver it with excellence. It's better to promise less and consistently exceed expectations than to overpromise and repeatedly disappoint. Over time, this practice creates a brand of trust around your name, and that brand is what makes you impossible to replace. Reliability may not always grab headlines, but it is the foundation of influence, leadership, and long-term success in any environment, personal or professional. The person who proves through action that they can be counted on becomes the person others cannot imagine losing. Your reliability becomes your silent power, and while others may chase recognition or status, your steady presence will make you truly irreplaceable. Constant learning is one of the most transformative habits you can build if you want to become impossible to replace. The world around us is not static, it is in constant motion. Technology evolves, industries shift, and ideas that once seemed cutting edge become outdated within years, sometimes months. If you choose to remain the same while everything around you moves forward, your relevance diminishes. But if you commit to learning every single day, you not only remain relevant, you set yourself apart. Learning is the fuel that keeps you growing, adapting, and adding value long after others have stopped. The most remarkable thing about learning is that it doesn't always have to come from formal education. Many people mistake learning for collecting degrees or attending expensive seminars, but true learning is far more diverse. It comes from curiosity, from observing the world with fresh eyes, and from asking thoughtful questions. A person who remains curious never runs out of opportunities to grow. Reading books, listening to different perspectives, learning from mentors, and even drawing lessons from failures, these are all parts of the habit of continuous learning. What makes this habit powerful is that it compounds over time. Just as money grows when invested wisely, knowledge grows when nurtured daily, and eventually it becomes a resource no one can take away from you. When you practice constant learning, you become adaptable to change. Imagine a workplace where new tools or systems are introduced. While many people resist or complain, the learner sees it as an opportunity to expand their skill set. Instead of fearing change, they embrace it, and soon they become the go-to person to help others navigate the transition. This adaptability makes them stand out because in every team or organization, there is a natural need for individuals who can bridge the gap between the old and the new. If you are that person, your role becomes indispensable. Constant learning also keeps you creative. Exposure to new ideas allows you to connect concepts in unique ways. Innovation rarely comes from staying within the same circle of knowledge. It comes from mixing insights from different fields and experiences. Someone who reads about history, studies technology, listens to psychology, and observes human behavior will inevitably bring richer ideas to the table than someone who only stays in one lane. This creativity is what organizations, communities, and even families cherish because it opens doors to progress that others may not even see. Another advantage of constant learning is confidence. The more you know, the more secure you feel in your ability to handle challenges. When others hesitate, unsure of what to do, you can step forward because you've equipped yourself with knowledge. This doesn't mean you'll always have the perfect answer, but it does mean you have the tools and mindset to figure it out. Confidence rooted in knowledge is not arrogance. It is assurance that you can contribute meaningfully. People gravitate toward that kind of presence because it makes them feel safe, supported, and inspired. What makes constant learning even more impactful is when you apply what you've learned. Knowledge without practice fades quickly, but knowledge applied becomes wisdom. Every time you use a new skill, experiment with an idea, or test a principle in real life, you strengthen not only your competence, but also your credibility. Over time, people begin to see you not as someone who just knows things, but as someone who can use knowledge to create results. That combination of learning and application is rare, and it is a trait that makes you incredibly valuable. Constant learning also demonstrates humility. To be a lifelong learner, you must accept that you don't know everything. You must be willing to admit gaps in your knowledge and stay open to being taught, even by those younger or less experienced than you. This humility makes you approachable because people respect someone who is knowledgeable yet open-minded. In contrast, those who believe they already know everything quickly become rigid, irrelevant, and eventually replaceable. A learner, however, stays fresh and continually renews their perspective, making them harder to replace because they are always evolving. In personal relationships, learning plays an equally powerful role. When you invest in understanding human nature, communication, and emotional intelligence, you strengthen your ability to connect with others. Learning doesn't just improve your skills, it deepens your empathy. It helps you see things from perspectives beyond your own, which makes your presence more meaningful to those around you. People remember how you make them feel, and when you combine learning with empathy, you enrich relationships in ways that last a lifetime. The habit of constant learning is not about chasing endless knowledge for its own sake. It is about staying relevant, being adaptable, fueling creativity, building confidence, and remaining humble. It is about ensuring that no matter how much the world changes, you continue to grow with it. When others see you as someone who never stops learning, they also see you as someone who never stops contributing. That reputation makes you not just valuable, but truly irreplaceable, because growth is a trait that the world will always need. Empathy is one of the most profound habits that sets people apart in a world where efficiency and speed often dominate. While skills, strategies, and intelligence are important, they rarely create the kind of connection that makes someone truly irreplaceable. What is the ability to understand and feel what others experience, to step into their shoes, and to respond with compassion. Empathy is not weakness, nor is it about pleasing everyone. It is about valuing the human side of every interaction. In workplaces, communities, and personal relationships, people remember less about what you achieved and more about how you made them feel. When you consistently demonstrate empathy, you build trust, and trust is the foundation of being indispensable. Practicing empathy begins with listening. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. But when you choose to give your full attention, when you silence the urge to interrupt or judge, you create space for someone else to feel seen and heard. This simple act builds bonds stronger than any technical skill could. An empathetic listener becomes the person others seek out when they are struggling, confused, or in need of encouragement. Over time, this presence becomes essential because everyone needs at least one person in their circle who truly understands them without conditions. In professional environments, empathy becomes a powerful leadership tool. Leaders who only give orders and focus on results may get compliance, but they rarely earn loyalty. On the other hand, leaders who understand their team's challenges, who acknowledge stress, who notice when someone is overwhelmed, and who offer support, build teams that go the extra mile willingly. A team member might forget instructions or even incentives, but they will not forget how their leader made them feel valued. This kind of leadership is not replaceable because people are willing to work harder and stay longer for someone who genuinely cares. Empathy also allows you to resolve conflicts in ways that others cannot. In disagreements, most people argue to win, but an empathetic person seeks to understand the underlying emotions behind the conflict. Instead of attacking, they ask, what is this person really feeling? This approach diffuses tension, because when emotions are acknowledged, people feel less defensive. Over time, you become known not just as someone who avoids conflict, but as someone who can transform conflict into cooperation. That reputation makes your role in any group incredibly valuable, because every organization or community needs a peacemaker who can bridge divides. One of the unique aspects of empathy is that it cannot be automated or replaced by machines. Technology can calculate, process, and even predict, but it cannot genuinely feel. Empathy is a human advantage, and those who practice it will always remain relevant. In an age where many jobs are being automated, the ability to connect emotionally is becoming an even greater asset. People may forget the technical details of your work, but they will never forget the warmth of your presence, the encouragement you gave, or the patience you showed when they needed it most. Empathy also requires vulnerability. To truly understand others, you must be willing to acknowledge your own feelings and experiences. When you admit your struggles or share your story, you create a safe space for others to open up. This kind of vulnerability is not about oversharing, but about showing humanity. When people see you as human, not just as a role or title, they connect with you more deeply. That connection becomes irreplaceable because it is built on authenticity, something people crave in a world that often feels impersonal. In personal relationships, empathy strengthens bonds in ways that time alone cannot. Relationships flourish not because two people never disagree, but because they take time to understand each other's perspectives. An empathetic partner, friend, or family member becomes a source of comfort, someone who doesn't just offer advice, but offers presence. This presence, this willingness to stand alongside someone in their joy and pain, creates a bond that others cannot replicate. Over years, it becomes the foundation of trust, respect, and love. Empathy is also an incredible teacher. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you expand your perspective beyond your own limited world. You begin to see challenges from different angles, appreciate cultures and values different from yours, and grow in wisdom that cannot be gained from books alone. Every interaction becomes a lesson, every story a chance to grow. This mindset of learning through empathy not only enriches you, but also makes you invaluable to others who rely on your broadened perspective. Problem solving is one of the most critical habits that distinguishes people who are simply present from those who are impossible to replace. In every environment, whether it's work, community, or family, problems are inevitable. Systems break down, unexpected challenges arise, and conflicts occur. Most people notice problems, some complain about them, and a few even analyze them endlessly without taking action. But the rare individuals who stand out are the ones who move past identifying the problem and focus on finding solutions. This ability transforms them into the people others instinctively turn to when things go wrong. That instinctive reliance is what makes them indispensable. Problem solving begins with mindset. Instead of seeing a problem as an obstacle, it's reframing it as an opportunity to grow, learn, and improve. Many people get stuck in frustration or blame, asking questions like, why is this happening to me? Or who caused this mess? A problem solver, however, asks, what can I do about it? This simple shift in perspective is powerful because it focuses energy not on the past, but on the possibilities of the present and future. That mindset is rare, and it sets the foundation for lasting influence. Another important element of problem solving is calmness under pressure. Challenges often come with urgency, stress, and even panic. In such situations, the majority lose clarity. But the person who stays calm and composed becomes a natural leader, regardless of their title or role. Calmness inspires confidence in others and creates the mental space necessary to think logically and creatively. When others see that you can face difficult circumstances without losing control, they begin to view you as reliable in crisis, and that reputation stays with you. Problem solving also demands creativity. The best solutions are not always the obvious ones, and often they require looking beyond conventional approaches. Creative problem solvers bring fresh ideas, connect unrelated concepts, and innovate where others repeat the same old methods. This doesn't mean you need to be artistic or wildly imaginative. It simply means being willing to think differently, to ask unusual questions, and to experiment with alternatives. Creative solutions often change the trajectory of an entire project, team, or organization, and the individuals who bring those ideas forward become invaluable. Persistence is another trait at the heart of problem solving. Some problems don't yield to quick fixes. They require patience, resilience, and repeated effort. Many give up when solutions don't appear immediately, but problem solvers keep pushing, adjusting, and trying again until progress is made. That persistence communicates dedication, and people around you begin to trust not just your ability, but your determination. Over time, you become the person others know will not abandon the ship when the waters get rough. And that reputation builds loyalty and respect. Collaboration also plays a crucial role in solving problems effectively. No one person has all the answers, and sometimes the best solutions come from combining perspectives. A skilled problem solver knows when to seek input, when to ask the right questions, and how to bring people together to pool their strengths. This collaborative spirit not only produces better solutions, but also strengthens relationships. People begin to see you not as someone who takes over, but as someone who empowers others to contribute. That dynamic makes you the hub of trust in any group, and it ensures your presence is valued far beyond the immediate solution. Problem solving is not limited to grand challenges. It applies just as much to everyday issues. Being the one who fixes small frustrations, who streamlines processes, or who prevents recurring mistakes also matters. These small wins accumulate over time and build a track record that people notice. Every time you remove a barrier for someone, you free them to focus on what matters most. In this way, problem solving becomes an invisible service that makes you indispensable without the need for constant recognition. Another often overlooked aspect of problem solving is accountability. When you step forward to solve a problem, you're taking responsibility for outcomes, even if the problem wasn't your fault to begin with. This willingness to own responsibility rather than avoid it makes you stand out. In environments where many people shy away from accountability, the person who embraces it earns credibility. People begin to see you as a leader not because of your position, but because of your character. That kind of trust cannot be easily replaced. Problem solving also prepares you for growth. Every challenge you solve teaches you something new about systems, about people, about yourself. Over time, this continuous exposure sharpens your judgment, improves your decision-making, and builds your resilience. Eventually, your experience becomes wisdom, and people begin to rely on you not just for fixing immediate problems, but for preventing future ones. You evolve from a problem fixer into a problem preventer, and that transformation makes you essential in the long run. Ultimately, problem solving is a habit that turns uncertainty into opportunity. It sets you apart from those who freeze under pressure or focus on blame. The ability to step forward, think clearly, collaborate effectively, and persist until a solution is found makes you someone others cannot imagine working without. In every situation, the problem solvers are the ones who move things forward, and that forward motion is what makes them impossible to replace. What makes empathy powerful is not that it solves every problem, but that it reminds people they are not alone. In a world where loneliness and isolation are common, Being the person who truly cares is an irreplaceable gift. People will forget who impressed them the most, but they will never forget who understood them the most. Empathy doesn't demand recognition, but it creates loyalty, love, and trust that cannot be replaced by anything else. Adaptability is one of the most important habits for anyone who wants to remain valuable in a world that never stops changing. Life is full of unexpected turns, and no matter how much we plan, we often encounter situations that force us to adjust. The people who resist change struggle the most because they cling to the way things used to be. But those who embrace adaptability thrive, not because circumstances are always favorable, but because they have trained themselves to bend without breaking. Adaptability is not about abandoning principles or losing your identity. It is about remaining flexible in how you approach challenges, opportunities, and uncertainty. In professional settings, adaptability is one of the traits that leaders prize most. Industries are constantly disrupted by new technologies, shifting customer expectations, and global challenges. Those who rigidly stick to outdated methods quickly become irrelevant, while adaptable individuals rise to the top. Imagine a workplace where new software or processes are introduced. Some people will resist, insisting that the old way worked fine, but an adaptable person will be the first to learn, the first to experiment, and often the first to master it. Their openness not only makes them more effective, but also positions them as role models for others who may be hesitant to change. This ability to transition smoothly into new realities is what makes adaptability such a powerful habit. Adaptability also strengthens resilience. Life throws curveballs in the form of failures, setbacks, or sudden disruptions. While rigid people that's under the weight of unexpected difficulties, adaptable people find ways to adjust. They don't deny the challenge, but they ask, what can I do differently? How can I turn this around? This ability to quickly recover and shift direction gives them an edge in both professional and personal arenas. People around them take notice of this resilience and begin to rely on them for stability when things become uncertain. Over time, their presence becomes synonymous with steadiness, even in chaos, and that kind of reliability makes them irreplaceable. An adaptable person also inspires innovation. Flexibility opens the door to trying new things, taking risks, and exploring possibilities that others dismiss. Innovation rarely comes from those who insist on doing things the way they have always been done. It comes from those who are willing to step into the unknown, experiment with new ideas, and learn from trial and error. Adaptable individuals don't fear failure, they treat it as feedback. This mindset not only helps them grow, but also creates value for everyone around them because they bring fresh solutions and keep progress moving forward. Adaptability goes hand in hand with humility. To adapt, you must accept that you don't have all the answers and that your current way might not always be the best way. This humility creates space for learning, growth, and collaboration. When people see you open to new ideas and willing to adjust, they are more likely to share knowledge, trust your leadership, and support your initiatives. In contrast, those who are rigid often isolate themselves because they give the impression that they are unwilling to learn. Adaptability, therefore, not only strengthens your skills, but also enhances your relationships. In personal life, adaptability allows you to navigate transitions with grace. Relationships change, families evolve, and life stages bring new challenges. If you hold on tightly to how things were, you create unnecessary suffering. But when you remain open to change, you allow yourself to grow alongside others. For example, friendships may shift as people move, start families, or pursue careers. An adaptable person doesn't resent these changes. They adjust, finding new ways to maintain connection or creating space for new relationships to enter. This flexibility makes them a steady presence in the lives of others, and that presence becomes deeply valued. Adaptability also cultivates emotional intelligence. To adjust effectively, you must be aware of your own emotions and sensitive to the emotions of others. When faced with change, people often feel fear or resistance, and an adaptable person can empathize with those feelings while still moving forward. They balance understanding with action, making others feel supported during transitions. This emotional awareness strengthens trust, because people feel that you are not only capable of adapting yourself, but also capable of guiding them through change with care and clarity. Another powerful aspect of adaptability is perspective. When plans don't work out, rigid people see only failure, but adaptable people see opportunity. They ask, what can I learn here? What new path is opening because of this setback? This shift in perspective transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Over time, this habit creates optimism and creativity, qualities that draw others in. People value those who can reframe challenges positively because it helps them stay hopeful even when things seem uncertain. Adaptability is also a form of quiet leadership. You don't need to have a formal title to influence others. Simply showing flexibility and composure during times of change sets an example. Colleagues, friends, and family notice how you handle transitions, and many will follow your lead. Your willingness to pivot without losing direction creates a sense of safety and encouragement. In environments where change is constant, the adaptable person becomes a stabilizing force, and that is a role no one is eager to lose. Ultimately, adaptability is not just about survival, it is about growth. It ensures that no matter what happens, you remain relevant, valuable, and capable of contributing meaningfully. While others may struggle to adjust, you move forward with resilience, creativity, and openness. That ability to thrive in uncertainty makes you more than just useful. it makes you impossible to replace. When we look at what makes someone truly impossible to replace, it is not a single skill, title, or achievement. It is the consistent practice of habits that add lasting value to the people and environments around us. Being reliable, constantly learning, practicing empathy, solving problems, adapting to change, taking initiative, and living with integrity. These are not occasional actions. They are choices we make every day. Each habit builds on the other, creating a foundation of trust, competence, and character that cannot easily be duplicated. The world will always have challenges, disruptions, and uncertainties, but those who cultivate these habits do not merely survive, they thrive. They become the people others instinctively turn to in times of need, the ones who make teams stronger, relationships deeper, and communities more resilient. Their presence is not dependent on circumstance, it is demanded by it. They're remembered not just for what they accomplish, but for how they show up consistently, learn continuously, connect deeply, and act with purpose. Becoming impossible to replace is not about seeking recognition or striving to be noticed. It is about committing to a way of living that makes your contributions essential and your presence meaningful. When you integrate these habits into your life, you create a ripple effect that touches every interaction, every project, and every relationship. People begin to rely on you not because they must, but because they trust, respect, and value what you bring to the table. In the end, the measure of irreplaceability is not in titles, achievements, or accolades. It is in the habits that shape your character, your work, and your relationships. If you live with reliability, curiosity, empathy, problem solving, adaptability, initiative, and integrity, you ensure that your presence matters, that your impact lasts, and that you leave a mark that cannot be replicated. These habits transform ordinary contributions into extraordinary influence and ordinary people, individuals who are truly impossible to replace.